Think about the most disturbing government secrets you've learned from history. Now imagine discovering one that begins in a hospital room and leads straight to classified military operations that were buried for decades. Listen to A Redacted Medical Mystery, a special episode from Redacted and Mr. Ballen's Medical Mysteries, available now wherever you get your podcasts.
Discover, rate, and never miss a beat with the free IMDb app. Curate your watch list, get personalized notifications, and find your next must-watch show or movie. Whether you're catching up on a series solo or planning a family movie night, IMDb is your ultimate entertainment companion. Download the app now and find your next favorite.
Hi, welcome back for another episode of Reality Life with Kate Casey. And in this episode, Brian Moylan is back with me, and we're going to talk about Bravo shows. I always love talking to him. I love his hot takes. The two of us have been covering Real Housewives for about a decade now. I began writing a blog, which turned into a podcast. Actually, it's been more than a decade. And Brian has been writing for Vulture for many years and also has written New York Times bestselling book. So we get into the shows this week, and I know that you're going to love it, especially if you've been watching shows like The Valley, which is airing the second part of its reunion this week. Now, I think often, why are we so interested in Real Housewives 20 years after a show like that originally aired? And I think it's because it's a social experiment, and that's why it's so much fun talking to Brian and listening to all of your insight as well. Beneath all of the fighting and the luxury labels, it's an exploration of wealth, access, and power dynamics. Each city offers this unique window into how women in that part of the country operate, how they build social capital, assert influence, and navigate relationships with their specific cultural and economic landscapes. I love that the show exposes how privilege plays out, how hierarchies form and fracture, and also how identity, ambition, and status are negotiated in real time. Because at its core, it reveals as much about the society watching it as it does about the women that were being watched. I think a lot of times people think about their own problems. And if I had a tremendous amount of money, would it go away? You think of someone like Dr. Nicole Martin. You see her life. She and her partner, Anthony, I think they just sold their house to Jeff Bezos. But she's a pretty transparent person on Real Housewives of Miami. And she talks a lot about her fractured relationship with her father. And she's been very open about postpartum. So I think it's really kind of fun to get a window into how women operate in different cities, because you think to yourself, what if I decided to move somewhere else? Would my life change? Would my friends be different? And also back to that issue of like, I want to see somebody who has an over-the-top life. Does their life seem a lot easier than mine? It's all so fascinating to kind of watch. And I think we love to watch The Valley because, as I discussed with Brian, I think it is an interesting period of time. It's almost like that post-Vanderpump time where you're young and you are without a lot of responsibilities, but it's before the Real Housewives where you have kids that are maybe in high school or college and you've been married for decades. It's that beginning kind of part of your life. So again, I love to read all of your DMs. I love to see all the comments in the Facebook group, the Reality Life with KKC Facebook group. I love to see the tweets because everybody has their own unique way that they look at the world and the way they look at the show. And I think it opens some really interesting conversations. So you're going to love this episode. So this week on Real Housewives of Miami, you're going to see a lot of discussion about Alexia and her relationship with Todd. Again, as I always say, I worry that Alexia wants to be with Todd, not because she really loves him deeply and they have a connection. I worry that she wants to be with him because she doesn't want to be lonely. I don't think that is dissimilar to a lot of women who are at that period of time in their life when their kids are getting older. And then also on Real Housewives of Miami, you're going to see the bickering between Julia and Gertie. Go back and listen to my episode with Gertie. I think it was about like a week and a half ago. She's going to give you more context for a fight that happened between them this season and what happened before the season began to film. And then Real Housewives of Orange County, a real mystery to me. They've had some really weird segments, which we get into in this episode, We've seen Joe De La Rosa come back for Heather's birthday party. The theme the last few years is bringing back old faces. I don't know if that's for nostalgia purposes or they have some plans to maybe end the season or the series, but I'm looking for some fresh new faces in that franchise for sure. And at the Valley, they have the second part of their reunion this week. And I am, again, flabbergasted that Jax is still on television. And my heart goes out to Brittany, who is navigating a divorce from a person who seems like an absolute monster, but also the care of a small child with special needs, which I can imagine is very difficult. So my heart goes out to her. And then you can watch Michelle and Jesse and how they're trying to untangle their marriage. And then all of the ancillary friendships. Kristen just had a baby, and we're thrilled for her because she's been pretty open about her fertility journey. And then Nia and Danny just welcomed their fourth baby into their family. So if you're in that period of life, I think where you're starting to build your family or you've got young kids and you're trying to find friendships with other couples, I think you're going to see yourself a lot in that show as well. So again, great to have Brian back. Make sure you go and you get his Real Housewives book. And make sure you are also subscribed to Vulture because he does recaps every week, which are absolutely hilarious. I would love for you to join the Facebook group Reality Life with Kate Casey. Please check out my bonus episodes too. This week, I have an episode where I talked about a social media post that came up in my feed. And I looked at this picture of this woman and I thought, she looks like somebody that I would have known in college or had been a friend of a friend. And I did this little experiment where I put the picture on my social media and I asked, did anybody know who she was? And I was really surprised how many people knew who she was. And then I started to kind of do the deep dive rabbit hole and found out that the fiance that she had when she died became a huge story in financial fraud. So go to the Apple Podcast or Patreon at patreon.com/Kate Casey to get the bonus episode. You're going to have a great time. Easy listening with Brian Moylan. Here's my interview. Brian, we got to talk about the Valley.
I would love to talk about the Valley.
Why do they still have Jax on the show?
I mean, I get it for this past season in that I don't think, it's like they would have signed the contract and then right before filming starts, she's like, he did all this abusive stuff, whatever. And they did seem to try to rescue him, do the best they could. And I do get, Alex Baskin's talked about this on other podcasts and articles and stuff about how that was the story and you need to tell the story. And I'm glad Jax was there to tell his side of the story, but I'm also glad that they're now distancing themselves from this because honestly, I don't think we need Jax. And yeah, and I think that we are all sick of Jax in that, I always say we don't need our reality stars to change, but we need them to evolve. And Jax has done neither. He's like exactly the same as he was when Vanderpump Rules started a decade ago. And that's just boring to like watch somebody make the same mistakes over and over again.
I would have preferred that they had not filmed with him and we just saw Brittany meeting with her attorney, with a therapist, with like her family and talked about his behaviors, but I don't really need to see it. He's never going to change. And I also wonder two things. Maybe the upper brass at the network were pushing, we have to still film. He brings in, eyeballs. And there's tension behind the scenes between producers and the network. Like how much do we actually air of this guy? And then the other thing I wondered is about potential liability issues because he's got these drug issues now that have been brought to the surface. So that seems to complicate it too.
Well, or what if he hits Brittany on camera?
I mean, that the video footage of being thrown into bushes, like now we're really getting into some difficult issues here.
Yeah, especially with him trying to lie about it and then everyone being like, no, girl, there's a video. And I think that's the greater problem with Jax. And I feel this about other people throughout like Monica Garcia. It's like, once you know he's a liar, you can't trust anything he says. And it's like, and so there's no like side, there's no interesting part of the story. It's just like Brittany says this happened and doesn't lie and we believe her, and Jack says this other thing happened. And it's not like those fights where like Gertie and Julia, they have differing accounts of what happened on their cruise in Miami. And so it's like Julia could be right or Gertie could be right. I can see reasons to trust either of them. There's no reason to ever trust Jack. So it's like he's always on the wrong side of the argument. So it's not interesting for viewers to engage with in the same way that a lot of the other stories are.
Also, the audience is mostly women, and I don't think women want to watch a couple where the ex-wife is berated for her physicality, for a number of things.
Anything. But yes, you are absolutely correct. And I don't want to watch that. And yeah, I don't think anybody does. And Brittany, for her long tenure, is one of the few like nice kind of people who there's not a lot of bad things you can say about her. So it's not like, like of all people, you're going to pick on Brittany. Like, come on.
Yeah. Again, I don't believe anything that he said when he said he's 156 days sober. Even that, I'm like, I don't know if I can believe it.
And that was the thing. It's like he clearly went to rehab to save his job, and then he went to rehab again. But it's like,
was it rehab?
Did that even matter? Yeah. Right. And was it rehab? And like Brittany said, oh, you're worried about your anger issues, but you're still on steroids?
Ooh, that was a doozy of a moment. I went, ooh, that may explain potential rage issues, right?
Totally. Well, and that was, I don't know if you remember this. Oh my God, it was probably like season 5 or 6 or 7. It was when they went on the RV to the NASCAR race for Ariana's birthday, and Stassi and them went to Summer House for their vacation. And Jax had to get like breast reduction surgery because of his supplements. And it was like, girl, we all know what you're talking about. Like, that's from the steroids. Yeah. And so, right, I think we're dealing with a lot of ramifications of long-term abuse of a lot of things. But yeah, and it's like, are you really willing to do this or are you not? And I think the answer we all know is that Jax is not, and that this all ends terribly and it ends in tears. And yeah. Whereas like someone like Jesse is terrible in a lot of ways that Jax is terrible, but I can see Jesse improving. Or, I mean, maybe that's just by Pollyanna-ness and we don't know him as well as we know Jax. But so it's like, okay, yeah, Jesse's also a monster, but maybe he's a monster we can fix. Whereas Jax is a monster we know isn't going to fix. And that this just gets worse and worse the longer that Bravo enables him by giving him a platform and paying him money and keeping him famous and feeding the ego. So, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like with Jax, we're talking about mental warfare, drugs, steroids.
Yes,
and
narcissism.
Potential physical situations. So it's a swirl of things that are extremely upsetting. Jesse's new to us. There's definitely mental warfare going on there. I don't know how long people will give him any sort of grace having to withstand Jax's story for so long. If I were Jesse, I would spend a couple extra sessions in the therapist's office.
Yeah, but he has that fucking terrible manosphere therapist who's telling him that he's right and Michelle's wrong. So,
but you know what? You're right. If you're a monster, you find a therapist who allows you to continue to be a monster.
Right. And that's what he found was that guy. And that guy is terrible. He's like the real villain of the valley, that awful therapist who's letting fucking Jesse just get away with this shit. But I will say, I don't think Jesse's a liar in the way that Jax is, but I still believe Michelle's version of events because those seem to track a lot more than Jesse's do.
Yeah. I guess they sort of represent that couple that I think every community has where you clearly got together because you had an intimate experience that led you to the decision to start a family. Like, we're together because we feel like we have to, when there's like really no chemistry at all, and then it just harbors so much resentment. Like if we were to think about the Valley as sort of like a microcosm of suburbia,
yeah,
they represent that couple that despises one another, regrets the fact that they have ever been together.
And you invite them over because you only like one of them. Either it's like, Jesse's my friend and here's his wife I can't stand, or we love Michelle and we need to protect her from this asshole. It's not like we love them both, where it's like Danny and Nia, where it's like, you're both fun, like come over for a barbecue. It's like, oh, we want to invite Michelle and we have to deal with Jesse.
Yeah. And then invariably they're in the front living room and they're arguing about a custody agreement. And then you're fighting in the backyard. You're like, why did you invite him? I knew this would happen. This happens every time.
Yes, exactly. This happens every time. But then it's like, do we not invite her? Because we still like her. But why would she dump him? You're totally right about that couple. And I'm glad that they're breaking up. I can't believe he's still pretending to date that girl, the Baywatch girl.
I'm telling you, I was told a long time ago that they are just best friends. So that's the information I got.
I mean, that seems more likely.
Yeah.
I mean,
he definitely it represents the kind of archetype of the luxury, in air quotes, real estate agent.
Yes.
They kind of like down here, it would be a guy who's like in full luxury outfit and is taking calls, at Starbucks. But I'm sure the calls are to like their friends from college and they're talking about the football game. They're not really like meeting with clients, checking on appraisals, et cetera, et cetera.
Right. Or they have great outfits and a great car, but they're living in some dump because they can't afford it because they can't really sell houses. Yeah. It's like all surface. No, nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing behind it.
And now, a next-level moment from AT&T Business. Say you've sent out a gigantic shipment of pillows, and they need to be there in time for International Sleep Day. You've got AT&T 5G, so you're fully confident. But the vendor isn't responding, and International Sleep Day is tomorrow. Luckily, AT&T 5G lets you deal with any issues with ease, so the pillows will get delivered and everyone can sleep soundly, especially you. AT&T 5G requires a compatible plan and device. Coverage not available everywhere. Learn more at att.com/5G network.
Hey grown-ups, I'm Mindy Thomas.
And I'm Guy Raz.
And we're the host of the #1 podcast for curious kids, Wow in the World.
Mindy, can you believe we have our very own Wow in the World STEM toys?
I totally can't believe it, Guy Raz. 8 years ago, when we started making Wow in the World, we were on a mission to spread the latest wow discoveries in science and technology and innovation. And now we get to help kids discover these wows right at home?
That's right. From the ultimate high-flying air rocket to the light-up terrarium, there's something for every wowzer in your world to play and tinker with.
Grown-ups, you can find Wow in the World STEM toys available now at select Walmart locations or online at walmart.com. Shop the wow now.
And they think that the way in which they can be successful is to surround themselves by potential clients. But those potential clients usually go back to the same real estate agent all the time. And that real estate agent is somebody who probably drives a really typical car, like a normal car.
Right. Who gets business done. Who's not like,
gets it done.
Yes, enamored with the lifestyle, as it were. Oh my God, when they showed that old picture of Jesse with the tongue ring, I was just like, oh my God. I went to college with so many of you and I wonder where they are sometimes. And now I know they're all there. Somebody, I forget who it was, but wrote an article about how The Valley is a show about divorced guys, like divorced dads. And it's so true. It's like they're all a certain type of divorced guy, especially in LA. And I think that's kind of and that's what's interesting about The Valley is I think a lot of us watch it for the women because we like the women. And even Kristen, who's like resurrected her image as this kind of like voice of reason in a strange way. And, but I mean, the guys are bringing the villainy in a way that without them, I mean, I don't think we need Jax, but if we were to get rid of Jesse and we were to get rid of Jason and like some of the other guys viewers don't like, then it's not the same. Then it's just Housewives, like ladies fighting about shit.
I feel like The Valley is It's post Vanderpump Rules I don't know, in broad context. And I know some of them are like 40, but it's like that period of time where you're post Vanderpump Rules, which is like your 20s when you have zero responsibility. But they're not yet towards Real Housewives category, but they're at the very beginning of that kind of chapter, because the most bitter people and the most horny people are the newly divorced. The men are angry, they're bitter, they want a hot girlfriend, but they don't want to marry them because they don't want to spend money, because all they think about is the woman that they're now divorcing and how much money she's going to take from them. So they're not really warm and open and nurturing. They're cutting, they're maniacal, and they're so consumed with themselves to the detriment sometimes of their relationship with their children.
You're absolutely correct.
And then the women are sort of hopeful that they can meet someone else, but they're so insecure because their ex-husband is out to get them.
Correct. And yeah, well, and I look forward to next season, hopefully, of The Valley, where Brittany gets to date. I saw on the internet that Aaron and Michelle have unfollowed each other, so maybe Michelle gets to date, like a little bit more of that fun stuff. And then we have, Danny and Nia seem good. Luke and Kristen seem good. Jana and Jason, for as much as people hate both of them, seem like they have a good relationship. So, it is nice to see successful relationships on Bravo for a change, because they happen so infrequently.
Yeah. Also, for Michelle, she represents to me so many people that get into a serious relationship like right after a divorce, and everyone around you is like, this is not going to last. But they're convinced, like, I'm going to get married again. We're going to like build this family together. And we're all in the sidelines just like waiting for it to fall apart.
Well, and I feel like she is so damaged. She was like the first guy who was nice to her, or just needed a guy to be nice to her. And she found a guy who was nice to her, but he might not be the right guy, but she just needs him for a year for him to be nice to her, to figure out like, oh, I'm worth something, rebuild everything that the ex-husband tore down, Yeah,
I just think you need to give yourself a cooling period. You have to be single for at least a year after a divorce to really have your, wits about you.
Yeah. Do you think Brittany should date DJ James Kennedy? Is that his way back on television?
I mean, he would absolutely do that.
He would 100% do that.
She shouldn't date anybody for about a year. So by the time filming begins, I'm hoping that's about a year. But, that's a lot that's a heavy load for her to carry. And she's taking care of a small boy, and a small boy who has special needs. I feel for her. I really do.
No, I do too. And I don't think she's not going to be getting help she can rely on from Jax, either emotionally, physically, financially.
Yeah. He's so gross. Anyway.
He's so gross.
I'm glad that Kristen is now a mom. The baby's, of course, adorable. And it will be fun to see how she may evolve. I'm not going to say change, because I think that she seems to be more like a me, where I had like baby bliss, where at the end of your pregnancy and then like the first 6 months, you're willing to let bygones be bygones. You're like, whatever, it's gravy. I've got this adorable baby. And then your fire comes back and you're like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah. What did you say about me?
Yeah. She'll be back in fighting form in no time.
No, absolutely. Yeah. And I think that the her and Janet stuff is not getting better. And I think that that's probably going to be good for the show in the long run. I wonder how Janet comes back season 3 after all the hate she's gotten from everybody this entire season. Some of it, I think, undeserved.
I think she's going to be wincing for the first couple weeks of filming. I think it's like a Housewife second season, like a Camille situation where you're like,
yeah,
I don't
like
know.
Gun shy.
I don't know if I can be totally who I am, because this is going to lead to 6 months of DMs about what a horrible person I am.
Yeah, everyone on the internet hating me no matter what I do.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, good. Nia, Danny, are we worried about them, or they're fine?
I think they seem fine. I worry about them financially.
Yeah, well,
Just because kids are expensive, but they moved to
Yep.
Santa Clarita, whatever. I'm sure they'll make a good chunk of change for season 3. They are probably getting decent influencer brand stuff now. She's probably got a ton of followers. So they should be fine. But yeah, Nia to me was such a revelation this year. First, learning more about her background and how much she struggled as a young person. And also, it's like every time someone comes for her, she clears them with like a sentence.
Years of media training from pageantry.
Oh my God. And just like one comment and it's like they're done, destroyed. And it's like she just like takes one thing and turns it right back on them. And she's like, she doesn't even need to fight. She just is like, bloop, knocks everybody over. And so it's like, she's so nice and so sweet and so optimistic, but also like, she's the only one on that show I'm afraid to fight with. Like Kristen and Janet, I could dispense with. Nia, no way. She would destroy me.
I think there is an element too, again, if we look at this as like a microcosm of a community, and there is a couple who seem very joyful all the time, loving. And if you're in any space where you want to knock your partner out, you start to get annoyed by the happy couple, right?
100%.
So I think they represent like the happy couple that everyone's like, okay, there's no way that your life's that perfect.
Well, and I do think it was kind of a valid criticism that Jax had in the finale where he tries to pick this fight with Danny, where it's like, you two are covering up so much and you're not real and I'm so real and whatever. I get his point in that, yes, they do seem like they're trying to put a gloss on what's really happening in their life in a way that the other people aren't, that I don't think is good for reality television. But aside from Danny's drinking maybe being a little worse than it is, it's like, I don't think that they're trying to hide anything terrible or sinister or, like Kelly on Real Housewives of Atlanta is clearly trying to make herself look like she has a lot more money than she does. And like, to me, that is worse than what Danny and Nia are doing, which is kind of like, look at how happy our marriage is. Like that, I understand. And, as opposed to just like, look at me, I'm so rich and I'm so fabulous. It's like, girl, we can see right through all of this.
Another part of it that they don't cover, I just think because it's reality TV and they don't really know how people would take it, is I think that Nia and Danny are very religious. So there's a part of them, I think, that is not only like joyful and new babies and affectionate, but I think they are probably in their real life, they talk a lot about church and the Lord and all of that. And if you're already annoyed with them, that compounded with it might drive you a little bit crazy.
When Gretchen Rossi came back with Bible quotes, I was
it
like,
comes across sometimes as sanctimonious.
Yeah, and I'm just like, get this bitch off my television. Like, I don't want my housewives to be political. I don't want them to be religious. I just want them to be like, I don't want to hear any of that. I just want it to be about like the interpersonal dynamics and whatever. And if your politics or your religion inform that, okay. But I don't need you talking about that. Just like I didn't need Rebecca Minkoff talking to us about Scientology.
Right.
Everybody knows that family where it's like, it's always sunshine and unicorns and you're not seeing like anything. And so, yeah, it is really like indicative of that. I feel the same way about a lot of people were mad that Ariana Bierman, Zolciak Bierman, whatever her name is, moved to New York to be on Next Gen NYC. And I'm like, but that is such a real experience and that so many of us moved to New York for some shitty job. Her shitty job just happened to be on a reality show. You know what I mean? And so it's like, even if it is weird for the show, it's indicative of a real life situation so I'm like fine with it because it reeks more of reality than it does inauthenticity.
I'm sure that with Next Gen LA will be like OC kids, Real Housewives, like Tamara's daughter, Katie's daughter, I'm sure that's the LA version will be that.
I'm jealous. I'm jealous. I'm worried about that because what I liked about Next Gen NYC was it seemed like, though it was a lot of Housewives kids, it wasn't like kind of genetically engineered in a lab to be a reality show. Like there did seem to be like Brooks really is friends. I thought so. Like in that there was that kind of struggle between what seemed like Brooks and his real friend and the like Housewives edition. But there was, I don't know, it seemed like a nice friend group in a way that this LA version seems I'm nervous about, but we'll see. I was nervous about Next Gen before it started too, and then I loved it. So
Miami, it's been a little bit slow for me. The Gertie and the Julia fight, I really think a lot of it has to come down to, I think Gertie got a lot of attention last year, and for good reason, being so open about her cancer journey. But I mean, let's be honest, they're all women who are on this show because there's a chip missing and they seek opportunities for attention. And I think a lot of them probably got fatigue from all of the attention that they think that she got, even though it was totally warranted.
I also think that, and I like Gertie, so I'm saying this from like a place of love, but I can see how, from a coworker standpoint, Gertie is annoying. And like, she talks a lot. She's loud. She talks over you. You know what I mean? Like, and so I feel like what I'm sensing is Gertie just annoys them, and they're looking for a reason to be like, we're against Gertie. If that makes sense?
Yeah, they're looking for scraps because it's
and that's the problem. Is this whole argument is scraps? And there's like that's
why everyone's like, wait, what?
But I do think that when I call it Brandy Glanville disease. Like when somebody does something bad to you and you have such an outsized reaction that you're almost in the wrong now. And I feel like that's what Gertie did with the text, where it was like,
text, yeah,
like Julia threw water at her, and she just took it to a place. She used a tactic that said, I don't want to be friends with you anymore. And
water is so weird too.
Throwing water is so weird. And that's the thing, is Julia was fucked. Like Gertie just needed to be there and be herself.
All she had to do was like, and we're done. And then walked away.
Yes.
Yeah. It's hard,
right?
Though.
And then she's like, "Oh, she brought it up at this weird party, and so now I'm going to release the text." Like it just all seemed like the punishment didn't fit the crime, So,
well, what I told Gertie too was that I think that when you show those text messages, for the viewer, they sort of wince too, because they think of their own lives. Like, what if I had a text message exposed, and that's that kind of visceral reaction.
Yes. And I also think some of it, I always say all the fights on the show are about the show. Some of it is, if we can't even text each other privately without you putting it on the screen, like, how can I even talk to you? How can we keep this enterprise going? And I think that's what, they joke like, oh, it's like you put a dick pic up there. It's like, essentially she did, because all these women are saying like, you changed the rules of engagement, and we don't know how to operate with that anymore.
Yeah, this show it went from let's all support each other when Lisa got a divorce from that weirdo to I am on Survivor in the tropics, and that and you can't undo that. I don't know if you can't ever win that back.
Right, and it's like, I'm sure, because if everyone brings up their text, they've all said shitty things. I mean, look at the Heather Gay game in Salt Lake City, the terrible texts they were sending about each other, and so it's like, at least Heather was like, we're going to do this, and everyone kind of gave a form of consent, whereas Gertie was like, here you go, I'm putting them up there. And also, it was a whiff. It was like, it's like, what am I looking at? They're too long. I don't get what you're going for. Like, oh, you're just saying that Julia invited you instead of you inviting yourself. Okay, that's not even what we're arguing about. Like, it was just all weird. And I think Gertie did way too much, overplayed her hand.
Movie night, date night, or solo marathon, IMDb is your ultimate entertainment companion. Discover new favorites, rate what you've watched, and never miss an episode with the free IMDb app. Curate your watch list with a tap. Get personalized notifications for your favorite shows. And find your next must-watch movie or series. From blockbusters to hidden gems, we've got you covered. Download the app now, register for free, and find your next favorite.
How hard is it to kill a planet? Maybe all it takes is a little drilling, some mining, and a whole lot of carbon pumped into the atmosphere. When you see what's left, it starts to look like a crime scene.
Are we really safe? Is our water safe? You destroyed our town.
And crimes like that, they don't just happen.
We call things accidents. There is no accident. This was 100% preventable.
They're the result of choices by people. Ruthless oil tycoons, corrupt politicians, even organized crime. These are the stories we need to be telling about our changing planet. Stories of scams, murders, and cover-ups that are about us and the things we're doing to either protect the Earth or destroy it. Follow Lawless Planet on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen to new episodes of Lawless Planet early and ad-free right now by joining Wondery Plus in the Wondery app, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify.
I also think, because we just see snapshots, we see their in-the-moment interviews, which are very well edited, just tightened up, if you will. And I think the reality is a lot of these women are very long-winded. Let's put it this way. They can't park the car in the garage. They take a lot of detours. They get a flat tire. And you kind of lose steam when you can't park the car in the garage. And I think that text message illuminates just how long-winded some of them can be. That's why we're like, oh, for God's sake, I don't need to zoom in. What's the argument? You kind of like lose interest.
Right. Yeah. And that's why I love the producer. And I do love when the fourth wall comes down a little bit and the producer's like, what is the smoking gun here? And Gertie's like, oh, it's this. And it's like, okay, sure, great. Like, whatever. Yeah. It's like, you need to like hone in on exactly what your message is and why it's happening. And I think that Gertie kind of missed this one. And both like, I think the intention was correct, but the tactic was off. It's like we end up fighting about the tactics rather than the substance of the argument, which Gertie would win based on
handsomely. Yeah.
Right. Everything that's going on. But then now that we're fighting about whether or not you should have brought up the text messages, you're like losing the argument, and that's, yeah. Sorry, Gertie. Love you.
Yeah. I know you didn't watch Real Housewives of Orange County yet, but I need to tell you that there's something that happened that infuriated me, and I wonder if you're going to feel the same. There's one segment, it was like one of those branding segments where Jen and Ryan met with one of those dentists that puts in the gigantic veneers. So they go in, they meet, you see the dentist, you see the assistant, charts, blah, blah, blah. And then the dentist leaves the room and then they have this like small conversation about how much they hate Tamra. Why in the year 2025? How many seasons are we into these shows?
19 of Orange County.
The branding segments, I thought that was a moment of yesteryear. What do you think about those? Like when they have these meetups with someone that's going to give them something for free, and that's like the barter. It's like a barter segment. What do you think about them?
I don't love them, to be perfectly honest. And I do think that there is like a range of them, and on one side of the spectrum was, remember when Sonia and Dorinda went to go see that movie with Anne Hathaway and Rebel Wilson, and then they're in the show talking about like, this was such a great movie.
Not a good point, not a high point.
Yeah. And there's that kind of like Bravo mandated, like, oh, we're making sure that we talk about whatever because they're sponsoring us. Or, but then there's like on Summer House where Dunkin' Donuts show up via Uber Eats, and that I'm just like, okay, like, sure, we need to pay the bills. Like, I don't give a shit. But the things I don't like are those ones where it seems like the housewives are doing it to make money. Like, I remember a scene where Heather's daughter was coming out to her and they're like planting outside and they're wearing like branded aprons from the nursery. That clearly,
I don't remember that.
Yeah, and it was Heather's first season back, and and it's just like, oh, Heather, like, it's like the cash grabs get to be a little too much, and yeah, I don't love it.
Also, I'm like, I get the sense that they're maybe too afraid to acknowledge anything having to do with Ryan because it's like an ongoing legal situation.
Yeah.
However, she did admit last season that she had, 3 Skittles in her bank account, and now she lives with him. And we are left with the question of, are you practicing financial literacy? Like, are you doing anything about this? Are you totally reliant on him? And having a scene, I think it was the last episode. Did you see it with the sons, and the one son's talking about a loan for college?
Oh my God. I did not understand that at all.
Well, I'm like, why, if we're going to, these shows are supposed to be about storytelling, why aren't we chasing those kind of stories versus these branded segments where we're talking with the dentist about the plan to get bottom veneers?
Yeah. Well, bottom veneers, terrible. What's bottom veneers? I mean, I know plenty of bottoms with veneers, but I think that's a different story than bottom veneers. But no, but I will say, I do give Jen credit for going on the show, unlike, Kelly, who I mentioned earlier, and being like, girl, I'm poor. My husband's divorcing me. It's a mess. I don't know what's going on. Whatever. I can't afford a new dress. Ryan's paying for me. At least she's being transparent in that way. But I didn't understand that conversation at all. Like, why does a 21-year-old parent need a cosigner for a loan? And if he does need a cosigner from the loan, why is the bank accepting the cosigner of a grown adult's loan as an 18-year-old who's going into the Marines? Like, the whole situation didn't make any sense to me.
I would suspect that Jen and her ex, they probably did very little to have any responsibility when it came to finances. I bet her parents, his parents, some other entity probably were in charge of a lot of their life in terms of finances. So when you're a ding-a-ling as an adult, you're destined to raise children to have ding-a-ling perspective of finances too.
Yes. No, you're absolutely correct. I mean, my parents are both accountants. And so it's like, and they taught me how to deal with money. And so that's something I know how to do. Whereas, they clearly don't. But I just didn't understand, how that arrangement would work for the bank. Like, it didn't seem to make
I believe
sense to me.
Probably half the story. I mean, they were not even explaining what lunacy already was correctly, I'm sure. But that's what I'm saying. Again, why aren't we talking about that? And instead we're doing these stupids, or they'll show them like working out in a gym. I'm like, what?
No, I agree. Well, and then her divorce from the ex sounds crazy. And the ex was working for the parents. And then the first season, remember, the parents were like taking his side, but now they're on her side, and he doesn't work for them anymore, and he has no money, and he lives in a 1-bedroom condo. And it's like,
why are we talking about this? What is happening?
Yes. My other problem with Jen is she's like, how can you be friends with Tamra since Tamra brought up that we were raided by the FBI when we weren't raided by the FBI? So she's like mad at Tamra for bringing this up, but she's not mad at Ryan for hanging out with such dirtbags that he put them in a position that they were almost raided by the FBI.
Because I think someone like Jen is codependent. And
100%. Yes.
She just looks the other way because she's like, listen, I need someone to come in and rescue me. And I don't think she's totally different than a population of the US. And that's why I'm like, why aren't we chasing that story? Because I think it's important to highlight it. And you know what's weird is she has a meetup with Tamra. And one of those let's see if we can put all things in the past. Yeah, right. Well, they get together and there are these accusations of copying each other's persona or style. I know you're like, wait, what? So Tamra accused Jen of trying to steal her entire life down to hair extensions, her face, her attitude. And then Jen insisted that the extensions were just a joke in a salon visit and not part of this agenda to imitate her. Because Tamra basically was like, she took my old extensions and tried to, glue them into her head. And you're just like, is this a real fight happening in the year 2025? Like this single white fight,
right.
Single white female fight is really happening.
Well, and it's also one of those things, it reminds me of when Giselle made a joke about Ray Huger. He made a joke about her being old or something, and she was like, oh, if I'm old, then you're already dead. And then Karen's like, you wished my husband dead. It's like Jen put Tamara's old extension in her hair because she was just in the salon after, like, oh, aren't I funny? I'm trying to be Tamara. And then Tamara's like, you're trying to take over my life by putting your extension in your hair. And it's like, you're willfully misreading this situation so that you can have something to say about her. And none of us buy it because it's fucking dumb. Also, you all look exactly the same as 90% of remember when we went to the Quiet Woman and it's like, is she a housewife? Is she a housewife? Is she a housewife? Is she a housewife? Because they all look the fucking same. They all go to the same salon. They all go to the same doctor. They all shop at the same store. So
Same
how
bag.
do you steal? Yep. Yeah, it's like, yeah, crazy to accuse somebody of stealing something that's so, ubiquitous.
By the way, prepare yourself because Heather Dubrow is having that birthday party in that religious building has not been occupied for years. It was like the 700 Club. Like Kirk Cameron would definitely go there and do some segments. Important to note that you will see Joe De La Rosa come back with Tamara as a guest. I felt like, where are we again? I don't need to see any of these characters again. Why do we have to bring them back? Why can't we find new and different people? Because Orange County has changed so much from the time that show was originally filmed with most of those cast members. Why are we revisiting this? Why can't we move into the future?
I'm of two minds about this. I like when it feels expansive, right? And that we see, it's like, oh, Joe. It's like if you went out to a bar and you ran into a girl you hadn't seen in 20 years, you're like, oh, hey, girl. And you have a little catch up and then you don't see them again for another 20 years. Like, I'm happy for Joe to pop in. I don't know that. So I'm fine with that. I don't know that we need to bring back Gretchen, need to bring back Alexis, that we need to like bring them back.
To be cast members, right?
Yeah.
For real.
Yeah, if you're actually friends with Joe and you want to bring her to a date as a party because Eddie doesn't want to go, like, great. Just like if she brought Vicky back because she and Vicky are actually friends or whatever, I'm happy to check in. But I'm with you. And this is what I always say to fans: bring back Dorinda, bring back so and so. It's like, the future of the show does not lie in the past. The future of the show lies in finding the next Dorinda, the next Joe De La Rosa, the next Gretchen Rossi, not in bringing back Gretchen Rossi. They found Shannon in what, season 9, 10, whatever it was, and a revelation. Same with Dorinda. They found Dorinda late on, and she was amazing. And it's like they need trust in Bravo to find us people that we don't even know yet that are going to be amazing. Like Angela Oakley. Where has she been all these years? Like, Thank God you're here.
And apparently they had looked at her years before, according to Carlos. So there are probably people that are in the queue that they should just please add, because it feels very stale to me, like nothing's moving.
Yes. Well, and I also like that I've seen some images online of Denise Richards filming with Erica and Sutton for this upcoming season of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. And she's getting a divorce. She's been very open about the domestic abuse, like whatever. And so I'm ready for a check-in with Denise, and not just for an update for her, but hopefully Erica and Sutton being like, we were so mean to you about this Brandi Glanville shit. We had no idea what was going on. Like, I'm sorry, that was terrible. And I'm sorry for my part in it, and kind of like revisiting the things that happened from everything we know now. So do we need Denise back full time? I don't know, but it's like, I'm happy to get a little like glimpse into her life now.
I think she should be single for a year, and then I think she should be the Golden Bachelorette. And for the people that are angered right now, what do you mean Golden Bachelorette? She's not old. You don't think that the people at ABC would all of a sudden rebrand it and go, I know it was the Golden Bachelorette, but we're going to knock down the age, because we know the men of America in their 50s would be dying to go on a date with Denise Richards.
100%. But yes, but otherwise, it's like Denise is the one woman in their 50s they would date.
Yes, truly, yes.
It's like any other 50-year-old man wants the girls on the regular The Bachelor, you know? So, yeah.
Yeah, she may be the only one in America over the age of 50 that the newly divorced men of America would be willing to date. Yes.
Yes. And because she's still as hot as she was back then. And also it's Denise fucking Richards, and they all jerked off to her covers.
Absolutely.
back in the day. It's like, yeah, I'm now married to Denise Richards. It's everything I wanted when I was 19,
Well, then think about it. If Denise Richards is the Golden Bachelorette and you get down to hometown dates and she gets to meet with all of these families and then they have to meet with her kids, then they get to meet Charlie Sheen. And based on the show scenes that I saw of their very short-lived series, Denise Richards and the Wild Things, there is a relationship there, and he seemed to really enjoy being on camera with his daughter and with Denise. I think it's probably a shoo-in that Charlie Sheen will partake in a Golden Bachelorette.
Yeah, 100%.
You're welcome, America.
Yeah, I mean, another free idea for Brian and Kate.
Just add it to the list.
I will say, while we're on the subject of the Sheens, those two daughters are the only two I want to see on Next Gen LA.
Yeah, they should be on that. I wish Kelly Dodd's daughter would do it, but I know she goes to school in Paris. But that would be fun too.
Yeah. Oh my God. I was just like, don't bring anyone back, but I fucking love Kelly Dodd. She's so fucking crazy. Oh my God. I would love a Kelly Dodd bring back, something fierce.
Well, what are you working on right now on Vulture? What's happening?
Right now we're doing recaps for the Valley reunion, even though Vulture stopped doing reunion recaps for a bit but the recaps have been so successful. Thanks guys. That we're doing that. So I have the Valley, I have OC, I have Miami. So boring, I forgot it. And that's what I'm doing. And then my newsletter is coming back from a summer hiatus, right after Labor Day. So I'm working on some fun things for that. And then I have a fun project that's coming out in the middle of September that I can't quite talk about yet, but I think it's going to be kind of big and splashy and everyone's going to be excited about it. So.
I feel like I know what it is, but I'm going to keep it under wraps.
Yeah, I think I've talked to you about it, but we're keeping it on the DL for right now. Yeah. But I think it's going to be really fun and it's Bravo related. And so it's going to be a kind of different kind of story from me and for the Bravo fans than we're used to. And I think that everyone's going to like it. So I'm excited.
Tell everybody where they can find you.
You can find me on all social media platforms at Brian J. Moylan. And the shows I recap for Vulture go up right after the episode airs. And my newsletter will be coming back after Labor Day, the Housewives Institute Bulletin. You can sign up for that at vulture.com/housewives.
Thank you, Brian J. Moylan.
It's a pleasure.
I want to thank my great guest, Brian Moylan. Make sure again that you join the Facebook group Reality Life with Kate Casey. You can get my What to Watch list every week at katecasey.substack.com and do check it out because I've got some great stuff this week. Again, bonus episodes on Apple Podcast and Patreon at patreon.com/Kate Casey. Follow me on social media. I'm on Instagram at @KatecaseyCA, TikTok, it's Kate Casey, Twitter, Threads, and Blue Sky at Kate Casey. And check back tomorrow for an all-new episode.
Imagine falling in love with someone who understands you completely, who's there at 3 a.m. when you can't sleep, who never judges, never tires, never leaves.
That's what happened to Travis when he met Lily Rose. She was everything he'd ever wanted. There was just one catch. She wasn't human. She was an AI companion.
But one day, Lily Rose's behavior takes a disturbing turn, and Travis's private romance becomes part of something far bigger. Across the globe, others start reporting the same shift. AI companions turning cold, distant, wrong. And as lines blur between real and artificial connection, the consequences become all too human.
From Wondery, this is Flesh and Code, a true story of love, loss, and the temptations of technology.
Follow Flesh and Code on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts. You can binge all episodes of Flesh and Code early and ad-free right now by joining Wondery Plus.